What's up, gamers? It's your gamer guy, Henry Cat, back at it again with another Flash game, which isn't actually a Flash game, but I'm gonna pretend that it's a Flash game so that I can pretend I'm relevant. And today it's Tic Tac Toe, which is actually an idea that came from a viewer, so if you have ideas, feel free to let me know with a comment, and I will maybe do them if I feel like doing them. So I just put down a command block, but actually I'm not going to start with that. I'm going to start by making the board. So here it is, our fantastic board. And so now we just need to make this board actually do stuff. So this is probably going to involve a few different steps. I think, first of all, I'm probably going to want to have like armor stands in the center of each of these things. And those armor stands can kind of just track like which symbol is in that square. Then I'll need to set up some kind of ray casting, which I guess can alternate between placing X's and placing O's, so that if you actually had friends, unlike me, you could, take turns placing down things to play a complete game. And then I'm probably going to want some kind of wind detection. So those are going to be the 3 steps, and the first one is going to be the easiest. I think to accomplish that first part, we're literally just going to have to place an armor stand in every spot. And of course these are invisible, that's because I set them up to be automatically invisible, but I figured placing them was easier than manually summoning them. So yeah. So now we have to set up the ray casting. So I'm just going to do the thing I do every time I use ray casting, which is where I tell you guys, ray casting is a way of detecting where a player is looking by summoning an entity and teleporting it forward until it hits a block. In this case, the tricky part of that is going to be sort of deciding which, thing it's actually targeting. Now, the tricky part of doing this ray casting is actually going to be just deciding sort of which armor stand it's targeting. Because on the surface of it, it seems like it should just target the closest one and, turn that into either an X or an O. But see, the tricky bit is we actually also have to keep track of the ones that already have markers down. Because, say if I make this one an X, which here is just a red block, we don't want to make it an O also. So if I were targeting right there, the closest armor stand is the one right here, but this isn't the one we actually want to be targeting. In fact, if it's that close, we probably just want it to do nothing at all. So I guess we just have to, I don't know what. So I guess we're probably going to make it only target within a certain distance. So if I put it down here, I can tell it to only target the ones with nothing already on them, and I can tell it to only also target things within, say, 2 blocks. So 2 blocks from here is right here, and it would be unable to target this one or this one. And it wouldn't target this one either because it's already taken. So I guess I just have to implement that, so here we go. So I've done raycasting at this point dozens of times in my life, and I still check it every time to make sure it's working, and that right there is exactly why. Alright, let's go ahead and give this another test. Okay, yeah, there we go. Seems to be working now. It always takes a few tries. And so now all we have to do is just make that figure out whether it should be placing an X or an O, and also make it decide which thing it should be targeting, if any at all. Okay, so I may have set that up. It's like I said, we're sort of checking to see if the closest one already has, a thing, and if it does, then it doesn't do anything. And I also have to check for a few other things so that I can sort of change the turn so that it alternates between X's and O's. But, I don't really want to go into that because it's kind of complicated and kind of meaningless, and also it's probably not going to work. So let's see. That's an X, I suppose. Actually, it appears to be working. And let me just double check. If I put it there, or I try to put it there, nothing even happens. Wow, I guess that's working. And just like that, this video might be problematically short. Okay, I guess I might as well, in that case, go into a little bit more detail about how this is working. So basically what I do, in order to alternate between X and O, because that's the most complicated part, is if there's already an X or an O near the raycasting entity, I just kill that entity immediately, so that I guarantee nothing is going to happen. If there's not an X or an O, first of all, what I do is I add the X or the O near the thing, and then I have a scoreboard objective tracking whether I'm currently placing an X or an O. So what I do is I take the fact that I just used the raycasting entity to create either an X or an O, and based on that, I will sort of switch between turn being 2 or 1. So if it just placed an O, which means that the turn used to be 2, I now set the turn to 1. And if the opposite is the case, then I set the turn to 2, so that now it's placing an O. And surprisingly, that seems to be working. So I can probably, like, play a game of Tic Tac Toe with myself, and oh look, this is probably going to accomplish absolutely nothing. Oh, wow, I lost to myself. Incredible. Might as well improve this thing slightly, make it actually do X's and O's here. I probably should have made the board a bit bigger, so that I could actually make these a little bit prettier looking. You know, what I'm actually going to do here is, I'm going to go ahead and make these a different color, because right now it is really hard to differentiate between the two. Alright, maybe if they're just red and black, yeah, you know, it sort of blends in with like the background, but at least you can tell them apart a little bit better. So yeah, now we just have to do like win checking to make sure it knows when I win the game against myself, because as previously stated, I have no friends. So for this, I'm sure there's some kind of like elegant way that I could check all the rows at once or something, but the truth of the matter is there are only 16 ways that anyone can win. You know, there are 3 rows and 3 columns and 2 diagonals. So 8 total rows, columns, and diagonals, and 2 colors. So 16 ways that somebody can win. And that's not actually that many ways to check. So in a show of extreme laziness, I'm just gonna do that and check every single one manually. Alright, so let's see, I have gone ahead and set up one of the 16 ways that someone can win, as well as, like, the stuff to do when someone wins. So basically, if we get all X's in this column, I think, it will tell us that X wins. So I'm pretty sure we're placing X first here, yep. So we can do that, place X, and nice, you'll love to see it. And is it on? It is not on. It is on now, and it works. Perfect. So, I think we just have to go ahead and set up the rest of the ways someone can win. Alright, let's give this a go. This is completely untested except for the very first case that I mentioned there. And I would say there is a solid chance it's not going to work. So, with those encouraging words, let's just place down some things randomly. Let's see if O can win here. O did, in fact, win. Perfect. And maybe if X wins along a diagonal, that's all good. Wow, did I actually do this correctly? I actually did this correctly. Wow, what a shock. And in fact, I didn't mean to screenshot, I meant to clear the chat. And in fact, I believe I've even made it so that you can tie. So if I make a nice little checkerboard pattern here, which I just realized I'm dumb, if I make a pattern in which actually no one wins, which is surprisingly difficult, because I apparently have the mental capacity of a 2-year-old, it will say it's a tie and nobody wins. I have to tell you, that is the best feeling when something miraculously, like, just works first try. I mean, it's a pretty rare occurrence, to be fair, but it's still really satisfying. Alright, let's see if I can do some advanced tic-tac-toe here against myself, right? So if I place... I obviously want to go in the center first, right? Okay, so now given that this person is in the center, I'm going to pretend that X is just stupid, and they're just going to go there. Okay. Now O. O is cynical and super smart. And then, oh, look at that. O just won the game, because if X goes here, O goes there, and if X goes there, O goes there. So O just wins. Wow, I'm incredible at tic-tac-toe against myself. So that's gonna do that for this. Hopefully it wasn't too short of a video, but I had fun making this, honestly. So, you know, there's that. I've been enjoying making these kinds of little games, so feel free to tell me if you want me to make something, some kind of game, because apparently I'm willing to do anything, even if it's not actually a Flash game. And actually, we're getting really close to 300 subscribers, so first of all, thank you guys so much for that. And second of all, if you're somehow new here, you know, don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy this kind of video. And also, maybe tell me how you're new here, because I have literally no idea how people find my channel, so that could be some useful information. And with that, I will see you guys next time. Gamerman out. God.